Well, let's get into this.
Yes.
Let's get into this book.
I have been dying.
I loved it.
Good.
I loved this book a lot.
I knew you would.
I love, like, again, I understand how people felt about Nesta being, like, kind of a bitch, kind of annoying. Like, you know, it's kind of like, get over yourself. But as this book went on, like, her character arc was so, like, just kept, like, there was no arc. It just kept going up. Like, nothing ever went down for her. And the romance between her and Cassian is literally one of my favorite tropes, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure, apart from, like, a good slow burn, enemies to lovers is phenomenal. And I think that's why I also like the whole Rhys and Feyre things as well, because, like, Rhys comes in and he's like, basically, well, he, like, they're not enemies per se, but, like, she hates him.
Yes.
And he's like, no.
He's the bad guy.
He's like, no, but I love you. Like, you're so hot. Yeah. And she's just like, fuck off. And he's just like, no, but I want to have sex with you.
I also think Nesta and Cassian is so fun because it's the combination of the slow burn with the enemies to lovers. Because it's like you get the enemies to lovers, then you know that they're fucking obsessed with each other.
Right.
But both are too strong-willed to do anything about it.
Yeah. And
then you're waiting, and then you get a little bit, like the teeniest little sprinkle, and then 200 pages before the next little sprinkle. Like, it was a lot. It was killing me while I was reading it. But I remember when you were finishing Wings and Ruin, and you were like, I'm just waiting for Nesta and Cassian. Like, I can feel it. It's coming. And then you were like, I don't know what to expect for Silver Flames. And I was like, oh, girl, you are in.
No, I'm so happy with how this book played out, because this is what I didn't realize that it was going to change narrators. Like, I had I didn't know if Frost and Starlight was going to be like just a one-off thing.
Yeah.
So when I started this book, I was like, okay, like, we're getting a little bit more Nesta's story, whatever. But I wasn't expecting it. So I thought Frost and Starlight was going to be this. I thought it was going to be the one-off, and this was going to go back to, like, the Feyre story. And that just, like, she's just going off. She has nothing. She's just like, I'm going to do whatever I want. Sarah J. Maas is just like, you know what? It's time to move on from Feyre and Rhys. Like, it's not overdoing it or anything. But basically, I was just, like, really obsessed with this entire story. I was really happy with the ending. The second that they went into it and they were just like, oh, we're doing the blood rite, like, what's it called? Like, they did, like, the obstacle course. I was like, these motherfuckers are going into the blood rite. Like, we forgot to say spoilers in the beginning of this, but I hope at this point you guys figured it out.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, they're going to go do the blood rite. And then they were just like, no, we're not going to do it. And I'm like, why would you do the qualifier if you're not going to do the blood rite? And then they were forced to do the blood rite, and they killed it.
They did. Literally
killed everyone. But no, I was just like, I kind of wish, the one thing that I was, like, kind of grappling with was, like, how Gwen and oh my god, Emery, I was gonna say Eloise, and I was like, that's not right. I was happy that they made it to the end and they became, like, that top thing, like, that you can become. I forget the exact name of it, but they win the blood rite basically. And, like, Nesta doesn't. And I was like, I really wanted her to win too, because then it would be like her and Cassian were, like, equals, and, like, that's, like, a big thing for them, is, like, being on the same playing field. And I was like, I get that she's just like, well, I did so much more and this and that and blah blah blah, and I beat the queen that was in it for 4 seconds and whatever. Which I feel like she loves doing that with villains. Yes. She loves just, like, sprinkling them, like, building them up, sprinkling them in, and then they're gone.
Yes. No, there's, like, all this, like, build up. There's, like, this I can never say this word, and I go to say it all the time.
What are you trying to say?
Ominous.
Ominous?
Ominous. You know what I should learn? If I can't get a word right 80 times, I should just stop using it. No, I tend to, like, just make up my own vocabulary. And Brian's just like, sure, I'm figuring this out as I go. It's like sort of.
It's learning Jordan's language.
It's either I'll use the word right and say it completely wrong, or I will use a word that sounds similar to another word, but in the completely wrong context.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, we know what you're saying, but it's just wrong. But yeah, she creates like this overarching villain and like this like fear instinct.
Yes.
And then they show up and they're like weird and lame. And you're just like, okay, you're not scary. But it's fun. It's in a good way.
No, that is so real. Like they're just like they show up and they're like, I'm a crookedy old queen. And Nessa's just like, all right, get fucked and just die. Yes. Like, and like the queen's dead. Like, okay, great. I almost lost it when Cassian like says it says that he stabs himself. I'm still trying to figure out the physics of this. That's like, how did it make it look like he stabbed himself without actually stabbing himself?
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if some magic was involved or whatever, but I literally was like, oh my god, Cassian's dead. I always expect somebody to die in these books. Nobody dies. Unless it's like the bone carver.
They get you in different ways, but like the core characters, they make it, which I am so grateful for, because there is so much. It's not fluff, and like it's not like necessary. Like it's happy, but like there's so much trauma and like dark stuff and chaos that goes along with everything. So you still get like reading them, I'm always shaking, but then they end up okay.
Yeah.
And it's like the last 20 pages you realize everything's gonna be okay. So like it's like
Sarah J. Maas is just like, all right, last 100 pages here.
Yeah.
And just flames come out of her fingers, however, what handwritten type, however her writing style is. Literally, I'm like, every time it never ceases to amaze me. I'm still not over Wings and Ruin.
No, I will never.
I'm still not.
I won't get over Mist and Fury. Like, I also cannot. Speaking of like the rumor and everything from earlier, imagine being her today and like waking up and seeing like ACOTAR 6 is trending, and she's like,
oh,
why?
Fuck.
Like, the book is not done.
She's like, honey,
did I have that on my calendar?
Did you leak my Google Drive?
Can you imagine if she just keeps it on a Google Drive?
You know, less things are put on Google Drive, if we're being quite honest. I feel like there's things from like the Pentagon that are on Google Drive. Like, password protected. Like, fine.
2-factor authentication.
Yeah. Oh, the 2FA. That good old 2FA.
My worst nightmare.
No, literally. But yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with this series. I'm very happy that I read it. And I mentioned Erin a lot during this whole series and how I was like, oh my god, Erin's reading it now. And like, I am where you were. And this and that. Erin finished the series before me. Erin finished the series in a good 3 weeks. And I was like, when she said she was like, oh, did you reach page 571 yet in Silver Flames? And I'm like on like page like 350. And I was like, no. And she was just like, okay, let me know when you get there, because I want to talk about something with you. And I'm like, this bitch. I was like, how dare you? But she reads so fast and she doesn't have the attention deficit. So, you know. It's easy to get.
I wonder what life's like for those people.
I guess we'll never know.
That's the realest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's funny because I said that to Michael too, and I was just like, how come Erin reads so fast? And he goes, well, she doesn't have the deficit. And I was like, the deficit of what? And he goes, attention? And I was like, oh, right.
Have we talked about our unmedicated ADHD on here before?
We've sprinkled it in.
Yeah, me and Sam are both just raw dogging our ADHD on a daily basis. So.
No, it's fine. I've been doing it for 28 years.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
This is just me.
Yeah.
So.
Literally, my mom was saying, she was just like, I love how you and Jordyn like mesh like with everything you do. And I was like, it's because we literally just keep talking over each other. Like, that's all we do. It's just like, we have an idea and we're like, oh my god, by the way, did you hear? Oh, did you remember? Like, and we just like bring up the most random things, and that's how this podcast gets made.
Yes. Shout
out to attention deficit disorder. This actually, that brings us to our first ad break. This is brought to you by
Adderall. Please give us some.
Please sponsor us. Oh, this is off the rails.
This is why we don't do in-person podcasts.
It's like we could drive an hour and 10 minutes to each other every Tuesday night, but this is, we have to keep the distance, otherwise it's too powerful.
It's too powerful.
We're going to be spending the next 4 days together. I think that's the most amount of time we've spent together in the last 3 years.
Definitely.
Like consecutively, I mean.
Even when we were working together, at our second job together.
Right.
It was very hybrid, so I was really only seeing you once a week, if that. Usually it was once every other week.
Right.
And we were doing the virtual stuff all day long.
Oh, yeah, every day. I mean, we talk to each other every single day, but actually being in person, the universe, I don't think the universe can handle it, to be quite honest with you.
I think it's going to be exquisite and exciting and dangerous for everyone else involved.
Well, sorry, the deficit just took over for a second.
No, okay. Let it go where it wanders.
Should we talk about this as a whole?
Yes. I also want to really get your thoughts on the end, because you asked me on the show. You were like, does it end in a way that feels complete? And I was like, I think so, yes. And I want your thoughts. If the series ended here, what would you think?
I guess I'd come to terms with it, but I have so many questions.
Yeah, me too.
I have so many questions.
What are your questions?
Everything about Elaine and Lucian and Asriel. Everything.
Who do you want her to end up with?
Asriel.
Me too.
Lucian will find somebody else.
Yeah, he can find anybody else.
He's gonna find some wonderful autumn woman, and she's also gonna have red hair in my dreams. And then Elaine is gonna run off with Asriel, who I have to I gotta come clean about something. We don't know a lot about Asriel.
No.
He's the least we know the least about him,
yes.
Which is why I hope the next book is about Elaine and Asriel, the way this was about Nesta and Cassian. I think Asriel is the hottest one, and I love Rhys. I love Cassian too, but Rhys, when I was reading about him, I was like, oh my god, I was like, I'm so obsessed with him. Every time Asriel pops into the picture, I'm like, it's like a jump scare. I'm like, oh, hi, you're here. No, he's so quiet and
the dark and mysterious aspect of him tied in with how gorgeous he's made out to be.
All the fan art that's made, they're all gorgeous. Nobody's ugly in this series.
In this universe.
And there's no bad. I even picture Jordyn as kind of hot.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little older with peppered hair and whatever. Don't need to delve too deep into that.
Can I be honest? Talking about him being attractive.
Yeah.
The whole time I was picturing George Clooney. And
Perfect.
I don't know why. I don't know if there was anything, but while I was reading, that's the real person character that I attributed him to.
See, I would put Pedro Pascal in there.
Oh, he also works.
Yeah, I'm picturing him Game of Thrones vibes,
yes.
And but now he's older. He's got the peppery hair. Forget it. I would lose my shit.
A Court of Thorns and Roses was casted with a real live action cast and Pedro Pascal was involved in any aspect, I don't think you especially would not recover.
I love Pedro Pascal so much.
She does.
So much. He is for real, my celebrity crush. I love him. Have you seen them on the lie detector test?
No.
Oh my god, he takes the lie detector test and they ask him, they're like, do you think you're a heartthrob? And he goes, no. And they're like, there's deceit in this, and he's like, am I lying? Okay, yeah, I'm a heartthrob.
No, I did. I saw that clip on TikTok.
And he's like, and they're like, do you look at edits of yourself? And he's like, yes.
And you know what? You deserve it, Pedro.
You really do, sir. You really do. But the ending of this, yeah, I love that they have this huge ornate mating ceremony and they get married, the whole 9 yards. And they are in love and they accept the mating bond, which I was expecting that. That was not I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We all saw this coming.
Waiting for it to actually happen.
Yeah. Although I do have a question. Do the females not know if there's a mating bond? Is the male the only one that knows?
I have no idea.
Because that's what it seems like.
And that's why I'm so curious to see more of Elaine's story. Yes. Because she didn't get that mating bond feeling back with Lucian. Right. So I want to see if she is the one that does initiate it with Azriel if they do go down that road. And then the other thing I really, really, really hope the next book touches on is more, because I think her and Emery.
Yes.
I think there's something very real there, and I just really want to see kind of like what that experience is like in this universe.
Fun fact, remember, backtrack a bit, when Erin asked me if I was on page 571.
Yes.
That was that interaction between her and Moore, and she texted me, and like after I got to page 571, like 17 days later, I was like, oh, are you talking about this? And she was just like, oh yeah, like they've got to be a thing, right? And I was like, that's what you wanted to talk to me about? And I was like, yeah, of course they're gonna be a thing, like, right? No, like, of course. I'm very interested to see, but I do feel like there is gonna be overlap with it. And again, we keep talking about Elaine and Azriel. We don't know what, maybe she does fall in love with Lucien. We have no idea, but I'm very team Elaine and Azriel. And obviously, if they do go down that path, Moore is going to be involved no matter what. Right.
So like, I feel like the next book could tie all of that
together. I kind of forgot about that.
Right?
That whole, like, Azriel being in love with her.
Still currently technically in love with Moore.
Oh my God. I'm gagged.
I also love, like, when they use her full name, like Morgan.
Morgan. I wish they called her Morgan more.
I know. I love it.
Not more. Morgan. A lot. You know what I'm trying to say.
More frequently.
More frequenter. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's the deficit.
It's the deficit. But yeah, I loved that. I mean, up until there was a part where Nesta and Moore have like a moment, and she's like, you can call me Moore. But like, I loved that Nesta called her Moore again.
Speaking of a moment
yes.
with Nesta, the moment when Rhys realizes that Nesta is saving Feyre and the baby, and he is like, and she calls him, or I'm pretty sure, doesn't she think in her head, or does she say to him, like, you're my brother? Or like something, like, I was weeping. Like, nobody's business.
No, I didn't cry as much in this book as I did Wings and Ruin. I cried so much during Wings and Ruin. But like during that part, because at that point, again, I was expecting somebody to die. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought it was gonna be Feyre. Like, I thought Feyre was gonna die. Like, I was like we haven't focused in on her a lot. Like, we kind of took ourselves out of Feyre's like storyline a bit, and like can't get rid of Rhys. Yeah. Like that's just the way life works. Can't get rid of Rhys. And I was like, maybe the baby, but like then Rhys would need the baby. Feyre's not there. Like but then Rhys would have died because Feyre died. So I was like trying to figure out what was going on. And then when she started doing all that freaking crazy stuff, and I think she looks at him and she's like, "That's my brother," or like something like that. And I was like, "Are you kidding me, Nesta?" Like, talk about a character arc. Like, again, I know I already said it, but like she was at the tip of the mountain at that point. I was like, you gave up everything for your sister, and like after everything she gave up to you, like the full circle moment. Like, she gave up so much when they were poor, and then like Nesta, just love it.
And then also that like clears Nesta's conscience. Like, it's just amazing. And what frustrates me so much, because I told you from day one I was a Nesta girly. Like, I loved that bitch. What frustrated me so much is, yes, was she annoying? Was she going through it? Yes. But she was so valid to be traumatized after everything that happened to her and her family. Like,
yeah, absolutely. So valid.
Then what was so frustrating is, and granted, I think the way they handled it, like putting her in the House of Wind, like all that stuff, I thought that was like, she was going down a really dark path. Like, I thought that was necessary. But you had like Cassian, who fell off the rails for what, a decade?
Yeah.
Like, and then everyone's getting so frustrated with Nesta, and everyone, I've seen so many like Nesta haters, and I'm like, why does everyone else get to have their moment and like experience their emotions and their traumas in their way, but like she can't?
Yeah. Like, and I think the main part of that was the way she was emoting.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the fact that she was doing it in like a disastrous kind of way. Like, everybody else, like maybe. And also, Cassian's a man. Like, if he's gonna go out and just like have sex with women, like nobody's gonna say anything. But of course, the second Nesta's running around going like, I'm gonna go sleep with somebody today, everybody's like, oh my god, Nesta, you can't do that. But like, her entire life got flipped upside down, and like, I get it. and that's why I was like giving her the time of day in this book. Like, yes, it took a little bit of time, and like Elaine had her moment too where she was like barely speaking to anybody, and then she started like, she found like her niche and whatever. But like, I'm like, her dad died in front of her. Like, granted, yes, I know that there were 2 other sisters that lost their dad, but like, she was the oldest. Like, she's like really has a lot of repressed trauma that she was dealing, like everything was brought up to the top.
And she really didn't get any opportunity. Everyone talks about how she was like her mother's favorite. She was so close with her mother. She lost her mother. Then she had all this resentment to her dad. Then she was so grateful for him, and then he died in front of her. She got no opportunity to like fix that relationship. Then she's taking on all the guilt from Feyre kind of being their support system. Like, girl, you are allowed to be traumatized. Like,
it's
I
okay.
would be too. Like,
I know. That's why I was like kind of I agree. Like, I was kind of like, give her a break.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But then but then she'd go and do something stupid, and I'm like, Nesta, baby, what are you doing?
And that's why like I fully see the other side, because I saw some like people that were like hardcore Nesta truthers being like, well, they had to do all this shit for her because she was going off the rails.
Right.
And I'm like, that's also valid. Like, this is also very true.
Yeah. It's, but like it all worked out because she got super freaking, and I loved I like to get into like a little bit more of like the deep metaphors of things, but like the stairs was like such a big thing for her, and like her constantly running down the stairs and not making it, and like getting farther and farther and farther. And I was like, God, I can't wait for her to make it down these stairs. And then she like gets down the stairs just out of pure rage or something with Amryn, and then she can't get down it again. She's just like, oh my God, do I always have to be angry to make it out of here? And then she learns that she can do it, and then she's like, okay, I did it. Now I just proved to myself that I just did it, and I'm just gonna go walk back up these stairs. And I'm like,
the moment that she made it out on her own and like didn't go to the bar, didn't go back off the rails, I was just like, my queen.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. I love her so much.
I can't wait to see in the next book, because obviously it's not going to be Nesta and Cassie in focus, but like we're going to get bits of them, and I'm just so excited to see like where their relationship at now that like she's really overcome a lot of her trauma. They're happy, they're mated and married and wonderful.
And she even said like we could have a baby. And like she's like, obviously not right now, but like Cassian as a dad, and also them all moving into that era of like Rhys being a dad, Cassian being dad. I don't know about Azriel, but like maybe he ends up being like, there's like a whole new era. And I feel like also, not that we grew up with these characters because we've just read these books, but like that's like kind of like the direction we're going in, right? It's like we have friends who are becoming parents and like getting married and like all this kind of stuff.
All of my friends smell like weed or little babies.
All my friends smell like weed or little babies. I was not in key at all. I'm so sorry. That was really bad.
It's okay.
But yeah, overall, I loved this series. I'm so excited for the next book to come out. You guys can't see it, but I got Fourth Wing and Iron Flame right there. I'm going to start that next. I'm very excited about that as well because I've heard it's very Game of Thrones-y.
Interesting.
Because there's like dragons and shit.
So, I can't wait.
It's going to be so much fun.